In the depth of what is eternal and transcendent, the first epistle of Peter in chapter 1 verse 20 reveals to us a mystery of divine proportions. Christ, chosen before the foundation of the world, manifested in the last times for our benefit. This predestined choice is not a mere historical chance, but a demonstration of God's sovereign and infallible purpose through the ages. This act of divine selection, carried out in the past eternity, underlines God's deliberate intention to rescue humanity through Jesus Christ. The revelation of this plan in the last times points to the consummation of the history of salvation, where Christ becomes the cornerstone of the Christian faith and the fulfillment of the promises made since ancient times. As we contemplate this truth, we are invited to dive into the rich tapestry of divine redemption, where each thread is meticulously woven with the wisdom and mercy of God. This knowledge not only strengthens our faith but also urges us to live in a manner worthy of the call we have received, anchored in the certainty that our salvation is the work of a God who plans, executes, and reveals His love and grace through the centuries. As we explore the pre-creative existence of God, we are led to the depth of Psalms 92, which declares, "Before the mountains were born, or you brought forth the earth and the world, from everlasting to everlasting you are God." This verse highlights the eternity of God, which transcends the creation of time and space, anchoring our understanding of His divine and eternal nature. Additionally, John 1:1-3 offers us a clear view of God's activity before the foundation of the world. "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through Him, and without Him nothing was made that was made." These verses remind us that not only did God exist before everything else, but He was actively involved in creation, highlighting His creative power and pre-existence. The idea of God operating before creation is also emphasized in Colossians 1:16-17, where Paul writes, "For in Him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through Him and for Him. He is before all things, and in Him all things hold together." These verses underline the supremacy of Christ and affirm that He is not just the agent of creation, but also the sustainer of everything that exists. To illustrate the eternal relationship between God and Jesus before the creation of the world, we can reflect on Jesus' priestly prayer recorded in John 17:5, where He says, "And now, Father, glorify me in your presence with the glory I had with you before the world began." This verse not only highlights the pre-existence of Jesus, but also the intimate communion and glorious unity He shared with the Father before the foundation of the world. Another powerful example is found in Proverbs 8:22-31, where wisdom is personified and describes her presence during creation. Although this passage does not directly mention Jesus, Christian tradition often interprets it as a reflection of His divine and eternal nature, working alongside the Father. The verses say, "The Lord brought me forth as the first of His works, before His deeds of old. When He established the heavens, I was there. When He marked out the horizon on the face of the deep, I was daily in His presence, always rejoicing in His presence." These biblical narratives not only provide a glimpse of the dynamic interaction between the Father and the Son before creation, but also enrich our understanding of how this relationship shapes the history of salvation. Through these examples, we realize that the relationship between God and Jesus is central to the divine plan, and that the redemption of humanity was a purpose shared by both from before the creation of the world. Furthermore, in Colossians 1:15-17, Paul presents Jesus as the image of the invisible God and the firstborn over all creation, reinforcing that all things were created through Him and for Him. This passage emphasizes that Jesus is not just a mere agent in creation, but the purpose and central point of all existence. When we open the pages of the book of Genesis, we are invited to witness the dawn of creation. Imagine, if you can, the Spirit of God moving over the face of the waters, a calm and powerful presence in the primordial void. This moment captures more than the beginning of time. It reveals to us that God in His majesty pre-existed before everything we know. When God said, "Let there be light," and there was light, He not only dispersed the physical darkness but also showed us that darkness, in any form, is no match for His will. Each act of speaking a part of creation into existence, from the starry heavens to the depths of the oceans, and finally to the creation of human beings made in His image, was not just an act of power, but a pouring out of love. Consider for a moment that you and I, and everyone we know, were created in the image of an eternal God. This means that even before we were a spark in the vastness of the cosmos, we were already loved and destined to reflect the glory of the One who made us. Does this thought not fill you with awe? That before there was a here or a now, God was already planning our existence with a purpose and a promise. Have you ever stopped to think about what really happened during Jesus' prayer in John 17? This is not just another moment in the Bible. It is one of the most intimate and revealing experiences of Jesus' ministry. Known as the high priestly prayer, here Jesus not only converses with the Heavenly Father, but allows us to glimpse the depths of a divine relationship. Imagine, He asks to share the glory He had with the Father before even the universe was created. Why is this request so important? This request of Jesus opens a window for us to understand not only His divine nature, but also the eternal mission He came to fulfill. And there is something deeply touching about this prayer. Jesus, fully aware of the challenges and pains of humanity, reveals His heart to the Father and expresses a sincere desire for all of us. Do you know what it is? That all who believe in Him may live in perfect unity, just as He and the Father live. Have you ever imagined what kind of love and perfect communion is shared in the Trinity? But there's more. When Jesus asks to be glorified, He is not seeking applause or personal recognition. Do you believe that this request is, in fact, a key to our salvation? Yes, by asking to restore the glory He had with the Father, Jesus was paving the way for His death and resurrection, the definitive plan to reconcile us with God. Have you ever wondered how these teachings impact your life today? How can we live the unity that Jesus so fervently wished for us? And what does it mean in your day-to-day life to be part of the glorification that Jesus so desired? Have you ever wondered who the Nephilim mentioned in the Bible are? This story might sound like it's straight out of an ancient mythology book, but it's right there in the scriptures. The Nephilim are traditionally seen as the surprising result of the union between rebellious angels and human women. But what do we really know about them? And what does this tell us about the nature and consequences of those angels' choices? When we explore the book of Genesis, we find references to these enigmatic beings. Imagine gigantic beings, products of such an unusual and forbidden crossbreeding. But beyond the fascination with their origin, a bigger question arises. Why did these fallen angels decide to disobey in this manner? What does this reveal about freedom and responsibilities in the celestial realm? The insurgency of these fallen angels is not just an isolated event in the biblical narrative. It has ramifications that traverse the biblical history, raising questions about order, chaos, and morality in the celestial and human plan. How did these actions influence the course of human history according to the scriptures? And what does this teach us about the consequences of our own choices? The insurgency of the fallen angels, as narrated in biblical texts like the book of Genesis and apocryphal texts like the book of Enoch, represents not just an episode of rebellion in the celestial, but an event of profound theological and existential implications that resonate throughout the entire sacred narrative. This angelic fall unveils the dynamics between order and chaos and shapes the ongoing interaction between the divine and the human. According to the scriptures, the transgression of these celestial beings introduced elements of corruption and sin into the human world that were crucial for the subsequent development of the history of salvation. In Genesis 6, the appearance of the Nephilim is followed by the statement that man's wickedness was great on earth. culminating in the flood as a divine act of purgation and renewal. This narrative suggests that the choices of the fallen angels not only disturbed the celestial order but had direct implications on the moral and spiritual integrity of humanity. This insurgency is emblematic of the freedom conferred by God to all his creatures, whether human or angelic. The capacity to choose, even if it results in a fall, is fundamental to the Christian understanding of morality and purpose. The fact that beings endowed with celestial powers chose to act contrary to God's will dramatically illustrates the gravity and broad consequences of free will. The story of the fallen angels serves as a dark parable about the consequences of our own choices. Just as the actions of these angels reverberated through generations, influencing the course of human and divine history, our individual and collective choices have the power to shape our world and our relationship with the divine. This narrative challenges us to reflect on how our acts can contribute to order or chaos, both on a personal and global scale. When we explore the concept of divine authority, especially in the context of Jesus' supremacy over evil, we enter theological territory that challenges many of the popular narratives we are familiar with. Often, popular culture depicts an epic struggle between good and evil, almost as if they were on equal footing. However, the biblical perspective offers us a very different view, which highlights not a rivalry, but the absolute supremacy of God over all forces, including evil. According to the scriptures, there is no battle, in the traditional sense, between God and the devil. In Colossians 2:15, for example, Paul describes how Jesus, through his death and resurrection, disarmed the powers and authorities, making a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them. This verse shows us that Jesus' victory was not marginal, it was decisive and complete. But what does this really mean for us today? Firstly, understanding Jesus' supremacy over evil frees us from fear. If we recognize that God is in total control and that evil has already been definitively defeated on the cross, how would our lives change? The Bible teaches us that, although we still face evil in our daily lives, we can be assured that we are not fighting for a victory that needs to be won, but living from a victory that has already been achieved by Christ. Moreover, this understanding reinforces the notion of divine authority. In Matthew 28:18, Jesus says, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me." This does not suggest that Jesus has some power. He has all authority. This means that no aspect of our existence is outside the reach of his influence and protection. Imagine for a moment that, even before time as we know it began, you were already known and loved. It's a staggering idea, isn't it? In the pages of Ephesians, especially in chapter 1, verse 4, we are introduced to a profoundly emotional truth. "For he chose us in him before the creation of the world to be holy and blameless in his sight, in love." This notion of celestial election is not just a theological doctrine, it's a message about value and purpose. Before you made any choice, before you even existed, God already had a plan for you. He chose you to be part of something extraordinary, to live a life that reflects his love and his holiness. How does this change the way you see yourself and the world around you? Now, think about this. If we were chosen even before the foundation of the world, what is the magnitude of the love that God has for each one of us? This love is not conditional. It does not depend on our actions or what we can achieve. It's an unchanging, eternal, and completely encompassing love. Doesn't that bring you a profound sense of security and purpose? But there's more. This celestial choice comes with a call to live in a way that reflects who we are in Christ. Living as holy and blameless might seem like a daunting task, but it's fundamentally about living a life that is in harmony with the love that has been given to us. It's not about perfection, but about progress, about growing closer to the heart of God each day and spreading that love throughout the world. Therefore, as you reflect on this divine election, allow this truth to deeply penetrate your heart and transform your perspective on life. You are not an accident. You were chosen by God, and that is something powerful. How will you respond to this call? How can you start today to live in a way that honors this divine choice and brings light to those around you? Have you ever wondered what it really means to be blessed? In his letter to the Ephesians, the Apostle Paul offers us a stunning perspective that goes beyond what we usually consider as blessings. While the world often focuses on material gains, Paul invites us to explore a very different treasure: celestial riches. But what exactly are these celestial riches that Paul mentions? Imagine something far more valuable than anything money can buy. Peace that surpasses all understanding, grace that is new every morning, and a sense of purpose that gives meaning to every moment of our life. These are just a few of the spiritual blessings in heavenly places that Paul discusses. They are gifts that transcend material gains and are freely offered to us without cost. Now think for a moment, how could these divine revelations change the way we live? If we recognize that our true wealth comes from God, how would that affect our priorities, our decisions, our interactions with others? Paul is not just informing us about these blessings. He is inviting us to live a life that truly reflects this knowledge. And here comes an interesting reflection. If we have access to these celestial riches, why do we so often find ourselves seeking satisfaction in things that we know are fleeting? Paul challenges us to rethink our quest for meaning and to recalibrate our hearts to desire what is eternal. Therefore, as we consider Paul's teachings in Ephesians about spiritual blessings, we are encouraged to look beyond the tangible and to value the riches that truly last. How can we begin to invest more in these celestial riches? What steps can we take today to deepen our understanding and experience of these divine blessings? Reflecting on the timeless existence of God is opening the door to a universe of wonders and mysteries that transcend everything we know. It's contemplating that before the universe had form and before time was measured, God already existed in fullness and perfection. Think for a moment. What does this reveal about the nature of God and about the eternal purpose He has for each one of us? This understanding is not just a matter of theology. It's a truth that can profoundly transform the way we live. If God, in His infinitude, chose to create the universe and everything in it, including you, how valuable and purpose-filled must life and every moment of it be? In light of this perspective, we are invited not just to admire this reality in silence, but to actively respond to it. Delving into the scriptures is one way to explore more closely who God is and what He has done. The pages of the Bible are filled with insights about the nature of God, His relationship with humanity, and His plans for the world. But how can you, today, respond to this divine call? Maybe you can start by setting aside time daily to read and meditate on the Word of God. It's not just about reading for the sake of reading, but allowing each word to penetrate your heart and transform your mind. Or, how about starting a Bible study group with friends or family? Together, you can discover the treasures contained in the scriptures and support each other in spiritual growth. As you gain understanding and spiritual maturity, share what you learn. Discuss God's truths in your everyday conversations, whether at coffee with friends or at family gatherings. Use your social media platforms to spread messages of hope and encouragement. Each post can be a seed planted in someone's heart, generating curiosity and a desire to learn more about God. Remember, each step you take towards better understanding God and His Word is a step towards transforming not just your life, but also the lives around you. So, what will be your next step? Start today to live, not just under the reality of God, but within the grand purpose He has for you.